I've been trying to program a Mandelbrot zoom application. Although I have been hitting a lot of roadblocks in the coding, like whether to use the magnitude of the complex number or some weird combination of them, two coordinates. So in this video, I'll simultaneously explain what all of that means and some pedantic jargon about Mandelbrot zooms. So lately I've been seeing a lot of Mandelbrot zooms, and they look really colorful. But to me, the coloring means nothing, other than just an expanse around it that kind of looks cool. I'll admit, it kind of does. But I really wanted to capture the pure essence of the Mandelbrot set. So what I did is I tried to create an application in processing, which is like Java, but way cooler. Which failed, and then I tried again, and it failed again. But to explain why it failed, I'm gonna need to do some explaining. And most of the videos I've seen don't do enough explaining for the programmers out there. So that's what I hope to do in this video, from the ground up. So starting from the ground up, I think a good place to start is numbers. Numbers are a bit hard to explain in words as a simple definition, but they're easy to explain. They're just sort of intuitive to humans. Let's say I have this many of something. In this case, I have 3 of that thing, but it's basically nothing other than this many. We just use a sequence of syllables like 3 to represent the value that it self-represents. From here, we can derive addition. This is most commonly given like as follows. Say I have this many, which happens to be 3 of something. And let's say that you have a value that happens to be 5 of that thing. You give me a certain amount of your thing to me, and I now have that value plus a new thing. And that thing is the amount that you have changed. So we're basically adding the 2 numbers, and we're subtracting from you. But what if we add a number to itself, and we multiply? In fact, we don't even have to add a number to itself just once. We can add it to itself as many times as we want, which we can represent even with a new symbol to move things into abstraction further. But what if we multiply a number by itself? Squaring it. And yeah, I guess you can try and add some even more symbols like long or whatever, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to stop at squaring. At this point, we have a magic box that we can put any number into, and we can get out a new number. But what if we get out one side -1, and we lose all records of the number that we put in? Most of the time, we can easily work backwards, but for this, we can't. In fact, we have a special value designated for this. We call it I, the imaginary number, as just another number that we invented as solution to the edge cases. But if we look at a number line, it doesn't look like I lies anywhere on it. Instead, it lies on a perpendicular axis. And now we have an outward expanse that goes from -infinity times I to infinity times I. Now, let's pick a point, any point, in this expanse. It has a real coordinate, as in the place that lies on the real number line, and an imaginary coordinate. It's coordinate on the imaginary number line. We can actually bring these into the same number, and we'll get 1.7 plus 1.1i, with the real component and then the imaginary component. But we can still add complex numbers, but we can't mix the axes. So what we do is we first add the real components, and the imaginary component will be the result of addition of the 2 imaginary components. Notice how we can never get rid of I unless we subtract this point down to 0. We can also multiply complex numbers, but it's a bit more complicated. It uses an old trick called FOIL, which stands for firsts, outsides, insides, last, which are in the order of which you should multiply, add, and then eventually, if you simplify this down, you can get your completely multiplied complex number. Now with that said, let's pick a point. This point will be a complex number on the complex plane, and its coordinates must both be within this radius of 2. That'll make more sense in a moment, but for now, let's just apply this function to the value z, which we're going to start out with 0. And with 0, we're going to iterate it. This function is fc of z equals z squared plus c, and z must also be a complex number in order for everything to work out. But we're going to use a special value with it called the magnitude to determine whether it's less than 2. The magnitude is basically the length of this hypotenuse here, which we can easily work out using the Pythagorean theorem, which itself is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if we pass this in reverse through our magic squaring box, then we get the square root, which is the magnitude itself. And if this magnitude is greater than 2, then it is not a point inside the Mandelbrot set. Now let's pick another point. Let's pick this point, say. the magnitude of z squared plus c under iteration by taking the value and plugging it back in and back in and back in. If we do that process a bunch of times, if it tends towards infinity, then it is not in the Mandelbrot set. But in this case, this point is inside the Mandelbrot set, since it is less than or equal to 2 at all points. And then if we do that for every point on the complex plane, or just every pixel on the screen monitor, then what we get is this crazy quasi-self-similar fractal that we can zoom in on. But what's up with all the colors in all these zoom videos? Well, that's for how long it takes, how many iterations it takes for the value of z to tend towards infinity. But it is possible to find zoom videos that just show a yes or no question on whether or not z does tend toward infinity. And this took me a really long time to find, but these videos do exist, and I'll put a link in the description to where you can see more of these. Special thanks to the Music Kid for making all the background music you heard in this video. Seriously, this channel deserves more attention. Currently his subscriber count is around 30 at the moment. But after this video, I hope to see that rise by 500.